Alright, good evening everyone. This is another video, the first time in a little while. We're going to do another LeetCode algorithm here, and it's called longest substring without repeating characters. It's a medium difficulty problem, one that I just solved a little bit ago, compared a few different solutions, and I personally feel like this one is the most optimal approach. Is something that's a mix of optimal and intuitive that you can kind of reach for during an interview. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get through this problem. What it asks is, given a string called S, find the length of the longest substring without repeating characters. So it gives you an input string, which is just a whole bunch of random alphabet letters, and it wants you to find the longest substring of that string where all you have are unique characters. It doesn't repeat any same character one after another. So we can go ahead and get started right from that. So the first thing that I would probably want to do is, since we're being given a string, I want to initialize some sort of character array to hold our characters. So let's go ahead and do int chars equals new int array. And because of the different values that this int array can hold, I'm just going to go ahead and specify a size. I'm going to give it 128. So for this particular problem, I think that the best approach is actually to use pointers and essentially slide. So when we have that string, we want to be able to do all of our checks on a single character in that string, make some sort of evaluation on it, and then slide up to the next character, and then make an evaluation there, and then slide up to the next character. And we want to do this until we reach the very end of that set of characters in the string. So now that we have created this fixed size character int array called characters, that's a little confusing, but don't worry about that quite yet. We also want to initialize our pointers for the reason I mentioned before. So just to make it very clear, I'm going to do int pointer1, and we'll initialize this one to 0. And then since I'm going to be tracking the next letter, I want to create a pointer2. So int pointer2, and initialize that to 0. And at the end, since it's asking us to return the length of the longest substring, not necessarily, the characters that make up that substring, I'm going to create a variable to hold that result. So we will call it int result and assign that to 0. So the first thing that we want to do, now that we have all of our variables set up, is we want to be able to create a while loop. So I'm going to do while, and I'm going to start with pointer2, and I'm going to say while pointer2 is less than the length of our string, add those parens. While we're in this loop, we're making sure that that second character is less than the overall length of the string. We're going to create a variable called, let's call it second, because this is going to be tracking that second character, the character at that second index. So we're going to do s dot character at, and we want to use our variable pointer2 because it's only initialized to 0 right now. So that's how we're gonna find that second character. And in fact, I think it would probably be more valuable to call it second char, just to make it a little bit more clear. And then what we want to do is call our chars int array, grab our second char value, and then increment. All right. So now that we have that laid out, we're going to do another while loop inside of this one. We're going to do while chars, and then we're going to do second char. We're going to do second char is greater than 1. Okay. So while that second character inside of our chars int array is greater than 1, we will do something similar as in the outer scope while statement. So we want to do char first char. This is a little bit confusing, but bear with me. I'm going to explain it all as we get to the end. So now I want to do the same thing. I want to do s dot char at, and then select our pointer 1. Because the pointer is just our index, and then what I'm saying is I want to assign the value at that index to our first char variable, which also just so happens to be a char type. All right, and then so with this first one, initially we had our chars second char incrementing. Now what we want to do is we want to decrement for this one. So we're going to do chars first char minus minus. All right. Let's remove that extra space there. And then once we do that, because we're comparing the two characters, now we can do pointer 1 and increment that one. So let me see. All right, this looks right. So then what we want to do is we have to compare the different values, and then assign the and then take the greater one and assign it to our result. So what we're going to do is result equals, we're going to use math.max so that we can do that comparison and then take the larger value. And so we'll pass in our result, since that's what we're assigning to. And then we're going to do pointer 2 minus pointer 1, and then plus 1. All right. And then afterwards, we want to increment pointer 2. All right. So now that all of that is done, there's nothing really left to do other than return our result. All right. Cool. So what we're doing here is we created our chars int array, gave it a fixed value of 128, created two pointers because we're going with the slider approach and we have to initialize them, then create our result, which will end up comparing our two different values, and then just taking the greater one and then incrementing the second pointer so that we can compare two other values inside of our set of characters. So right here what we're saying is that while pointer 2 is less than the length of our string, or string s, we get the value at the second pointer, and then what we do is we increment that value inside of the char's int array. Then what we say is, while the value second char inside of our char's array is greater than 1, we do the same thing, but we do it for the very first character, and then we decrement that value, and then we're able to increase our pointer so that we can start comparing the following characters. And then what our result becomes is the greater of the two values, and then we can go ahead and increment pointer 2. And at the end, once we're done, we escape our while loop and we return the result. So this one's a little bit of a trickier problem, both to explain and just kind of conceptualize. But give this code a try. Let's go ahead and run it first. So output 3 expected 3. Submit. Cool. So this one is accepted. I hope this helped you out. As I mentioned before, this is a trickier problem, so I do recommend trying this one out on your own. I had several solutions, several different attempts made on this, and it was, it took a few tries to be able to get this one right, and at least at a decent runtime. So I hope this helped you out in some way, and I will see you all in the next video. Thank you for watching.